أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته brothers. Alhamdulillah, today I just changed a little bit. Usually we do the talk about the 4 Abadillahs on Sunday, but because of some reasons I couldn't prepare the journey through Quran. So inshallah we'll do that next week. We'll go through the series of the 4 Abdullahs as we have finished the biographies of the 4 young Sahaba of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we all know their name by now inshallah ta'ala. They are Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab, then we have Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, and also we have Abdullah ibn Zubair ibn al-Awwam. So we have been doing this for almost some time, almost 4 to 5 months. So now we are doing last 2 weeks before we started another famous Sahaba who is also Abdullah, but he is not among the 4 He is senior to them, and he is much closer to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the time of the beginning of the Islam, and he is no other than Abdullah ibn Masud radiyallahu ta'ala an. And we talked about his tribe, his situation before Islam. We talked about how he was accepted Islam, and we are doing all these things because we want to know about these famous Sahabas, about their family, about their background, their interaction with Prophet Muhammad, how Rasulullah used to make dua for them, what service they have provided to Rasulullah, and their own personal life, their Islam, their own struggles, their own ibadah, their Quran, and their contribution to the Islam, for the later generation. So last week, just a very quick summary, we did, his nicknames. We know that, Abdullah ibn Masud has few nicknames given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and one of the, famous name was, As-Sudusul Islam, meaning he is the 1/6 of the Islam. The reason being that, he was the 6th person to accept Islam. Very early in the time, he is the 6th person, and also his knowledge and, his contribution to Islam as if it is the 1/6 part of the Islam. He also has a nickname that, he was the As-Sakalain, meaning that he used to carry the sandal of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's always with the Prophet sallam to serve him. He was a good Quran reciter. We'll talk about the Quran today a little bit more. We talked about his physical appearance, like many other Sahaba, because we know that all the Sahaba has taken part in the battles with Prophet sallam, and it's our nature that we picture the Sahaba as if they are very strong, like big hero. But for Abdullah ibn Masud it was a bit different. He was a very, very short guy, and we talked about his thin legs when some of the Sahaba were making fun of that, and Rasulullah forbade them and told them that these 2 thin legs will be much heavier in the day of judgment than the mountain of Uhud. And also we talked about his appreciation in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he was from the slave class, as we mentioned before, he was not like from Quraysh, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned him as an appreciation with him, with Bilal and other people who are in that class, that Allah appreciate them, that never ignore them, they are the one has the purer of the heart. So Allah told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to more put focus on them. We also talked about Abdullah ibn Masud, although he is not related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like other Sahaba, other Abdullahs were somehow related to him. And we mentioned that Abdullah ibn Abbas was his cousin, and other Sahaba was also very much related with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's how they had access to the house of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Abdullah ibn Masud has no relationship at all, but still he was so close to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was so serving the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much that he told Abdullah ibn Masud, you can come to my house anytime, as long as there is no woman in the house without the aura, but if the house curtain is open, you can come and go anytime. And that's why we heard from the other Sahaba, like Abu Musa al-Ashari and some other Sahaba, they said for the few years we used to think that he is a part of Ahl al-Bayt. Because we think like he's probably a nephew of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or a cousin, or something like this. He's so always stick with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So today we're going to talk about a few other things that he did with the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The good news of Jannah. As you all know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a famous hadith, he declared the 10 Sahaba, the Ashara Mubashara as we call them, the 10 promised paradise. But other than those 10 Sahaba, there are other people where Rasulullah promised them paradise, and one of them was Abdullah ibn Masud. This incident actually took place one day. Rasulullah was walking across a garden, and he entered the garden in Medina, and he was sleeping there, just taking a rest, and he felt thirsty, he said, I wish I could drink some water. And he turned around and he saw Abdullah ibn Masud standing beside him with a bowl of water. And he was amazed because he didn't know that Abdullah ibn Masud is following him all the time. So he said, who told you to do that, to bring the water? He said, Ya Rasulullah, I just did it. I had the feelings inside my heart that you will probably be thirsty, so I just got the water ready. And getting the water ready for drinking or for wudu, for our time is a very simple thing. But for that time, it is a very big thing because they are people of the desert. Water is a scarcity there. So when you see someone is making ready your wudu water or your water for your drinking, it is a big thing that he is doing for you. He's very thoughtful of you. And at that time, Rasulullah said, Afshur bil Jannah. You did good, and Afshur bil Jannah, meaning I give you glad tidings of Jannah. So this is how he's one of the Sahaba who listen from the mouth of Rasulullah that he will be in the Jannah. Also, as we mentioned that he is with the Prophet Muhammad from the beginning of the time, so he witnessed some low and high points of Islam, meaning even the early time when the Quraysh used to torture the Muslim, the few number of Muslim at that time, also especially on the physical torture on Prophet Muhammad. As you all know the incident when one day Prophet was praying in Mecca, and one of the worst enemy of Islam, Abu Mu'ayth ibn Uqba, he was the master of Abdullah ibn Masud. He was the employer of Abdullah ibn Masud, as you can say, and he was instigated by Abu Jahl. So Abu Jahl say, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is praying, who can get some dung, some camel dung and all the arteries and everything from a dead camel and bring it and put it on top of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abdullah ibn Masud was there and he was witnessing, but because Islam was at that time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed them not to fight at that time. And Rasulullah instructed all the Sahaba, the few Sahaba that he had at that time, they never come in public to protect me because they will kill you. So Abdullah ibn Masud saw that that guy, the Abu Mu'ayth ibn Uqba, he brought all this thing and he put on top of Rasulullah when he was in the sujood, and Rasulullah was so much in pain. So Abdullah ibn Masud ran to the house of Rasulullah and he called his daughter Fatima. Fatima radiallahu anha, she came and she cleared this thing, helped Rasulullah to get up. And as you know, the Rasulullah was very, very upset on that day because of this thing, and he raised his hand to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he mentioned a dua, the 7 names of the enemy of Islam at that time, starting from Abu Jahl, Utbah ibn Rabi'a, Utbah ibn Shayba, all this name he mentioned, the 7 names that he said, oh Allah, destroy these people. And as you all know, all 7 of these people were died in the battle of Badr. So he saw that one. He also saw the conversion of all the bigger Sahaba, like Umar ibn Khattab, Hamza, radiallahu anhu. So he saw those things. And he said, Abdullah ibn Masud, he said in the narration that when Umar and Hamza became Muslim, that is the time is a big victory for Islam. Because that is the time we can go in front of Kaaba and we can pray. Because everybody knows who is Hamza. Everybody knows who is Umar. So nobody, after that time, come and try to attack them, as an individual person. So they used to group together and make a jama in front of the Kaaba. So he saw that, big, and he said himself that this is a big victory for Islam. He also witnessed a lot of miracles with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His Islam started with a miracle, as we mentioned 2 weeks back, that he was a shepherd, and Rasulullah put his hand on one of the older goat, and the milk came out. So he saw that miracle. He also saw the miracle of the splitting of the moon. As you all know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Surah Al-Qamar that Rasulullah one day was showing the finger to the moon, and the moon got splitted. And Abdullah ibn Masud is the only one Sahaba that time he was with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in the explanation of the surah, he himself mentioned that how Rasulullah has given this miracle by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was also present with Prophet Muhammad in the night of the jinn. The night of jinn, as we mentioned, that there was a night when the jinn came to see Prophet Muhammad to get counseling, because they were so much impressed by the hearing of the Quran, the recitation of the Quran, and they became Muslim. They accepted Islam through Prophet Muhammad. And on that night, Rasulullah took Abdullah ibn Masud with him. Later on, when other Sahaba asked, how did you know, because we can't see jinn, how did you know there was jinn? Who told you, Ya Abdullah ibn Masud? Who told you and Prophet there's jinn is there? So Abdullah ibn Masud said, the tree told us. The tree of that area speak. So he also heard that miracle. The tree spoke. Tree said, yes, they are here. And Rasulullah took him and Rasulullah let him sit in one place, and in a nearby place Rasulullah went and he had a meeting with the jinn. But Abdullah ibn Masud didn't see the jinn, but he can see some smokes and everything, and that is the conversation. When Rasulullah came out from the conversation, he told Abdullah ibn Masud, the jinn told us not to use the bone or the other things after the eating, like the leftover eatings, some of the narrations, the dung or bone. Do not use these two things for cleaning up yourself, because at that time they used to use these dry things to clean up there after the toilet. Okay, so the jinn said, do not use that one, because our risks come from that materials. So on that jinn night, Abdullah ibn Masud was accompanied by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next thing is hijrah. As you know, this is the only time that he was not with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it was the instruction from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that whoever can go with the safest way, go to leave Makkah and go there, and he will come at the end. And you all know the story of hijrah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was only accompanied by no other than Abu Bakr, his friend Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. But Abdullah ibn Masud has 3 hijrah almost, because he went to Abyssinia twice. And then he came back with his mother, and then he went to the Medina. So he's one of the few Sahaba who has this blessing of doing two hijrah. Anybody can name any other Sahaba who has 2 blessings of 2 hijrah? A famous Sahaba who has done just like Abdullah ibn Masud. He went to Abyssinia, come back, and also did hijrah to Medina. Anyone knows? Jafar actually didn't do hijrah. Jafar went to Abyssinia, then he came very late in Medina. That is also considered a hijrah, but there's another famous one at the same time. Who?
Brother of Sayyidina Ali.
Yeah, but there's another one. He's Usman ibn Affan. Usman ibn Affan was also there. Jafar was also there, but Jafar came to Medina very, very late, like after the Battle of Khaybar. Anyway, good answer. So he is one of them. So he did the same thing. And also, because he was a very small person, he needs some physical protection when he's doing the hijrah. And Rasulullah needs to know that. He's not like Umar, because Umar hijrah was different. As you all know the story from the Umar radiallahu anhu, before he made the hijrah, the night he was going to do the hijrah, he went to Makkah in the Kaaba, and he announced that I'm leaving Makkah. Anybody there to stop me, come. And tell your mom you'll have a very bad day tonight, she have to cry. So Umar was a brave man, but Abdullah ibn Masud was not like that. So Prophet Islam made mu'akha with Zubair ibn al-Awwam. And we talked about who is Zubair ibn al-Awwam. He was another great hero of Islam. So he made the brotherhood, the pair with Zubair ibn al-Awwam, and Zubair, and Abdullah ibn Masud left Makkah together for the protection. And Abdullah ibn Masud made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, Zubair is helping me and protecting me to this hijrah, and I want the same person to make my janazah. If I die before Zubair, oh Allah, make Zubair to pray my janazah. And that's what happened actually. Allah accepted the dua, and Zubair ibn Awwam was the one who prayed later, and we'll talk about it, that who prayed the janazah for Abdullah ibn Masud. The last thing for today is Quran. We already talked about it a little bit last week. We're going to stress the point a little bit more, few more examples, or few more incidents about Abdullah ibn Masud's Quran recitation. We said that, Rasulullah sallallahu said there are 4 people you should learn Quran from. And he's telling this to Sahabas. He's saying if you want to learn Quran, go to these 4 people. Anybody knows this 4 names?
Abdullah ibn Masud.
Yes, one of them is Abdullah ibn Masud. Another 3? Okay, Abdullah ibn Masud. Muaz ibn Jabal, okay, Ubay ibn Qab, and last one is Salim Abi Mawla Hudayfa. Salim was the Imam actually before Prophet Islam moved from Makkah to Medina. So the people of Medina chose him to lead the prayer, because as you know, the Medina was already accepted. Almost 40 families has accepted Islam. So he was the one who used to lead. So he was named as Salim. And other than Salim, we don't know much about Salim, but other 3 Sahaba, as you know, Ubay ibn Ka'b, we know about him, Muaz ibn Jabal, and also Abdullah ibn Masud. But among these 4, there are a lot of narration, and everybody said that Abdullah ibn Masud is the best one, because he is with Prophet Islam from the beginning. Imagine when the Iqra revealed, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, just after a few days later on, maybe a year or later, Abdullah ibn Masud accepted Islam. So all this surah that came in the beginning, he learned all this from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He also has a very unique memory. That's why he could learn so many surah in so much short time. Because at that time, now we have, alhamdulillah, plenty of time. We have separate days for Quranic school, separate time. Because their life was very, very busy. We think like a Sahaba didn't have office or something. Because they used to go to battle every time. From the life in the life in Medina, they had every year they had a major battle. And also even in the life of Makkah, they have been persecuted by the Quraysh. They had 3 years of boycott and all these things happening. Even at that time, sitting down with Prophet ﷺ and learning the Quran, it is a difficult thing. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him a very unique memory. One of the surah of the Quran is called Surah Al-Naml. As you all know, the Surah Al-Naml is a very long surah. It's a Makki surah, but it's a long surah, almost 11 pages. If you go through the books now, 12 pages. And when the surah revealed in one time to Prophet Muhammad, Abdullah ibn Masud was sitting with Prophet Muhammad at that time. And Rasulullah was in that motion to receive it from Jibril alayhi salam. So you can see that the wahi is coming to him. So he received that and he was reciting with Jibril. So Prophet was reciting with Jibril, because this is how Prophet used to know, because he don't know how to write and read. When Jibril used to say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it in his heart and his memory, so Rasulullah will remember it for the rest of the life. So he's reciting and the wahi is coming. And Abdullah ibn Masud is sitting there. Once the revelation is finished, Jibril left. Abdullah ibn Masud told to Rasulullah, Ya Rasul, and the whole surah I'm talking about, this is the whole surah came down, so 10 pages or 11 pages. Abdullah ibn Masud said, Ya Rasulullah, do you want me to recite back to you? So he memorized the whole surah when Rasulullah was saying it by himself in one go. So subhanallah, how beautiful his memory that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give. So he was very, very, and very, very eager to learn about Quran. In a later time, and we'll talk about it, maybe next week or a week so, he said to the other Sahaba, I am the only one who knows every ayah and the reason for revelation of every ayah. And he is not saying it out of the pride. There's a context why he's saying this, because there's a conflict between the Sahaba, and he wants to resolve that, and he's saying, I know from Prophet ﷺ which ayah, which surah came for what time and for what incident, what's the reason behind that. So he was so much has authority of the Quran, so he's one of them. One other incident is very interesting incident, and inshallah we'll finish with that one. Prophet ﷺ used to take a walk in Medina with Abu Bakr and Umar. That was the time, and when I say walk at night, meaning after Isha, and there Isha is like that is the time probably we do dinner, but that is night for them, because they have no other activity after Isha. So he used to take Abu Bakr and Umar and walk through the streets of Medina to listen to the people who were doing Qiyamul Layl. So the houses of Medina used to buzz with Quran, at that time. So they used to listen to that, and also in their walking they used to consult different matters, like any problem, what should their strategy be, all these things, because Abu Bakr and Umar, as you all know, they are the left and right hand of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they are so they used to deal with this one. So Umar was describing this narration, incident, that he and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr, three of them, they're walking in the street of Medina, and they're hearing the people are reciting Quran in their house. Some of them are praying, Qiyamul Layl or whatever it is. So they're walking, and they came in front of the house of Abdullah ibn Masud, and Rasulullah sat down there. So he just sat down and wanted to listen the recitation of Abdullah ibn Masud. And they sat down and they heard the recitation, and they waited there, and then they understood that Abdullah ibn Masud now going to start, because it's almost the Fajr is coming, the last part of the night, he's going to start his witr prayer. And that time Prophet said, ask and Allah will give you now. But he didn't say it loudly. They're sitting outside. Abdullah ibn Masud doesn't know that these three people is sitting outside and listening to it. So Rasulullah told Abu Bakr and Umar that this is the time, ask and Allah will give you now for Abdullah ibn Masud. So Abdullah ibn Masud started the dua for the better. And he asked three things in the better. He said, oh Allah, give me iman and keep my iman, don't make it spoil. And he said, oh Allah, give me your ni'mah, your blessings, so that I don't waste the blessing. Make sure, Allah, I don't waste any of your blessing. And the third thing he said, oh Allah, make me a companion of your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the highest garden. And Rasulullah said, Ameen. When he said this dua in the better, Rasulullah said, Ameen. So, that is another proof that, his dua has been accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and because Rasulullah said Ameen on his dua. And the next morning, the funny part of the story is that next morning Omar was so excited because he wants to give this news to Abdullah ibn Masud. He wanted to say that, we were outside at your house, last night, and, Rasulullah made the dua for you, and you did the right dua. So he went to rush to, Abdullah ibn Masud, and he said, no, I want to give you the glad tidings. And Abdullah said, yeah, Abu Bakr already told me. So Abu Bakr is always before Umar ibn al-Khattab. So inshallah ta'ala, the last thing about the Quran that, Rasulullah used to call Abdullah ibn Masud to listen from his, Quran is came to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but he wants to listen it from the mouth of Abdullah ibn Masud. And Abdullah ibn Masud was sometimes very shy. Ya Rasulullah, how come you ask me to recite to you? Rasulullah said, no, I would like to hear, sometimes I like to hear from other people. And he always used to choose Abdullah ibn Masud to recite some surahs to him, so he can listen and contemplate on them. And it was no other than the Quran master, as we can say, of the Sahaba, Abdullah ibn Masud. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll stop it here and we'll talk about the other topics next week. Jazakallah khairan. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.